Welcome to this Plants vs Zombies challenge, where I will try to beat Adventure Mode using only 2 columns and 3 seed slots. Now before we begin, this challenge is inspired by Shyguymaskand and RCCH in their challenges, 2 seed slot and 1 column respectively. So I thought, why not merge these 2 challenges and balance them out in a way. Hence, I came up with this challenge I'll call the 2x3. Also, I'd like to mention, perhaps this is possible with 2x2 instead, 2 columns with 2 seed slots, but I'm not sure how doable is that, at least not without losing my sanity. So we'll stick with 2x3 for now. Sunflowers are an extremely important plant. Fun fact, you can stall this level for a while to farm some sun before the first zombie comes. This level is also easy, so we'll move on. Here comes the cone heads, a bigger threat for sure, but nothing to worry about. Level 1-4 now has 5 rows, but a bunch of pea shooters without sunflowers will suffice. We're on to walnut bowling. The number of columns we use doesn't really matter, so the minigame is pretty much the same. With the shovel, we can now plant sunflowers by digging them up when a defender is needed. However, the pole vaulter is here, in which we need 2 pea shooters to deal with. The utility of the shovel comes to play here. They're really the biggest threat here, but it is easily dealt with since our sun producers can keep up with the demand. So, moving on.
Freeze! I'm thirsty. Had your drink? Now I know. Freeze.
So we unlock the snow pea. It's definitely a game changer as it is a far superior option than the pea shooter. I'd also like to point out that so far I've only used 2 seed slots so far, so I mean go figure, as the first world is really easy. The next level now has the buckethead zombie, but we literally just used the same strategy with snow peas and they're dealt with. We now unlock this monster of a powerhouse in the repeater. Next level is a conveyor belt level. Simple rule here is to only limit ourselves to 3 plants from the RNG machine while we dig up any plants we don't use. Matter of fact, I actually only used 2 plants here to flex how easy it is. I chose repeater and cherry bomb as my representatives. So for the entire 10 levels of day, it is possible to beat it using only 2 columns and 2 seed slots, and that wraps up the first world.
Hey, you're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right?
We are now in nighttime, and it is not as straightforward anymore as we can't produce sun as fast. The early game though is much easier because of the free mushrooms. But trying to read my subtitles is hard, okay? But don't let that get your guard down, because we have to farm sun ASAP for the snow peas against the newspaper zombies. By the time the newspaper zombie comes, you ought to have enough sun for that affirmation snow pea. Tutu is simply a harder version of the previous level with bucket heads and an extra flag. Of course, it's the same strategy, so we're moving on. The biggest threats to the next level is cone heads and screen doors. We chose Fume Shroom over Snow Pea in this scenario. Fume Shroom actually has a slightly larger range than Puff Shroom, so the duo of these is a cheap and reliable defense against the earlier cone heads. And with that, this level is over with using Fume Slam.
No!
This level now has screen doors and pole vaulters. Now I really want to use snow peas, but the screen doors forces us to use Fume Shroom instead. Unfortunately, in this round, we had an early pole vaulter, forcing me to sacrifice a lawnmower. They can be beaten by stalling correctly, but it is simply way too expensive to do so early game. Oh, and of course, a second pole vaulter spawns in the same row with no lawnmower. Here's how you beat one by stalling, like I mentioned. Other than the pole guys, we have completed this level, and now let's play Whack a Zombie. Yeah, this minigame is also the same. Okay, that's an overreaction. The solution is simple. Hypnotize them. This level is actually not as easy as mushrooms just aren't enough to handle the hordes of zombies. But for the final wave, lawnmowers are our saving grace and we move on to the next level. For this one, this is a harder version of the previous level that we need to hypnotize both screen door and football zombies. Using Puff Shroom and Hypno Shroom was enough. Until the final wave.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, we had our first loss. Tried using chompers as I had an abundance of sun. It's a fast recharge and reusable. Should be reliable, right? Well, no, since they were of course slow to finish eating a zombie and it just kept dying on me. In the end, it was almost the same outcome as using Hypno Shroom.
No!
So I thought I'd go back to using Hypno Shroom. My strategy? Just use it more aggressively. The desert zombie isn't really that bad, as 2 fume shrooms is enough to kill him. 2-9 is basically the same level as with an extra flag. As for the conveyor belt level, I tried using fume shroom and doom shroom. What the fuck? But I ran into multiple issues. First is the craters that doom shroom leaves, which limits my fume defense and I can't even fend off cone heads. Second problem is that I can't get enough fume shroom to begin with. Also, because I forgot I can use 3 plants, the conveyor belt is full with plants I cannot use. So instead of relying on normal attackers, I settled with the 3 instas: Doom, Ice Shrooms, and Gravebuster. That seemed to have worked pretty well, and now we move on to the backyard. Wait, what's happening? What? What do you mean? I didn't do anything wrong. Oh. Yeah, I know nothing about Phoenix Wright. Don't sue me. Okay, so we gotta fix our mistakes. And luckily there is a way to go back in time to level 210 again. After time traveling, we are back in the same level, and for real this time, I will only use 2 columns. It wasn't that easy to manage the crater leaving doom shoes, but we managed to pull through in the end. We're back at the pool, and this time we are forced to use only 1 defender, as we have to use a slot for lily pad. The biggest threat here is the coneheads, so it's not that bad. We have the newspaper and football zombie to deal with in level 3-2, so I decided to go sunflowerless for this one so we are able to fend off normal zombies, the pool and football zombie in the form of squash. For that, the early game is rather difficult, so I'm forced to sacrifice a couple lawnmowers. And so, I didn't even make it to the first flag using this seed lineup. Instead of squash, I tried a twice as cheaper option, the potato mine. It worked like a charm since the zombie takes so long to get to your columns, the patat had enough time to arm itself. We now unlock the 3-peater. By planting just 1, we can defend half the field, making things easier. However, we have a problem. The snorkel zombie can completely dodge our defense, so the first plant in the pool must tank the bites while the 3-peaters do damage. Luckily, we need not worry as our sub-producers can keep up with the 3-peater demand. The next level is a bit more challenging as we now have to deal with 3 extra zombies to deal with alongside the snorkels. We use the same strategy here. Unfortunately, we had to sacrifice half the ground lawnmowers due to terrible RNG. Other than the lawnmower madness from early game, the rest of the level was pretty much autopilot. Anyway, that'll do it for this part. In the next video, we'll complete Adventure Mode where even more challenging levels await us.